So this is class exercise number 3, part B or part 2 of the octopus or squid that we're gonna. This is what's called rigging with this as well. So after I've done this is all the first step that we just did with it as well. So you're welcome to follow along with this right here. But as we do this, I'm talking into more concept for you to understand how this works with it. Click on next, and it asks you basically step number 2 is to repeat what you just did right here with it. So we did all this through step number 2 with it as well, right? So all right, so we need to convert this to what's called tentacles to a soft type of because motions in water or ocean, they tend to be very slow motion. What they mean soft here is more slow movement with it. That's what it means in rigging, or when things are soft. They're just very, very in the water. It's very a slow motion with it. That you have to give people the illusion of how slow with it is. Versus if something is in the air, it becomes very, very fast. Okay, because there is any resistance with it, right? So that's why we're going to convert all these to what's called soft, right? So it says select one of the tentacle bones, and now you can go to the properties, objects, and change the bone type to soft with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this right here. All right, I'm going to select this as one of bone, which is the first one right here, and then I'm going to come over to the right. If you look at properties over here, and then you come down to the submenu called objects. And in the submenu down here, you're going to find what's called the bone type. You see the bone type right here, So it says hard by default, and it says there's a second radio button that says soft right here with it. So select that, right? And you need to repeat this. If you notice, the moment I've done this is that this changes, right? So it's no longer a pointed shape, but it's more like the tubular shape from start to end. So click on the next one with it, and you're going to switch that over to soft. All right. So so that's what they're asking you to do, is to switch all of them to a soft look to it as well. So I'm switching all these over to the soft look with it as well, right? So they're asking to change the tentacle bones. These are tentacle bones, and the first one is not. All right, so the first from the pivoting point to the base of the tentacle, I'm not changing it at all with it. All right. So I'm going to click on next. Now, the other piece about this is that we're going to talk about is the nice thing about it is you got to zoom out in this thing with it as well. So we need to remember now, this is on frame 1 of all of this right now, and the layer that you work on is the jellyfish with it. So I'd like for you to come over to the right over here. Look at the right with it, and first of all, I want you to come over and select the stage size tool with it. You're going to click on the free edit in a second with it, but we need to change the stage size so you can actually drag the octopus off of the squid. What were they calling it? Oh, jellyfish. Gosh, that's what that is. I'm sorry. I thought all this time I've been doing is calling it octopus. It's a jellyfish, and I thought it was jellyfish squid. It looks like a squid. I'm sorry. My head is it's a jellyfish. My apology. Halfway through this, I figure out that I've been calling it an octopus or squid. My apology. So change that to fit to 50 for me. And there's a scroll bar right here. If you can scroll down, okay, give it some room as well with it. All right. So change that to 50% so you can. It just backs out the magnification to it as well. Click on this left, which is the free transform tool with it. So make sure you click on it. So it has this type of black rectangle around it with it, and we're gonna drag it off of the screen with it just coming down. Just drag it off the screen like this. Okay, so it's not in the picture, not on the stage with it. And then I'm going to click on next. And then I'm going to go to frame 35 of the jellyfish, then click on, and I want to insert what's called a keyframe button in this right now with it, and then on the timeline, and then I want to select the jellyfish and drag it onto the stage as what we're going to do with it as well. So I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to come over to frame 35. Here's frame 35 of layer is the jellyfish, which is this one right here. Okay. So if you want to, I always like, these icons up here are not very self-explanatory after with it. I always like to right mouse click, and I find the menu in here, insert keyframe. All right, you see this on frame 35 of the layer jellyfish. So I do insert keyframe. So it pops in this little frame, and it has a black circle in there with it. All right, on the timeline with it. Now I'm going to have to select the jellyfish and drag it onto the stage. All right. So after, remember now, in frame 0, I took it off the stage. In frame 35, I bring it onto the stage with this. Okay. So it's about right here. Let's do about right here with it. All right. So let me explain what's going on. All right. So in frame 1, all this time, if you look at from all this from frame 1 to frame 34, all right, technically it is off of the canvas, off of your screen with it. And then on frame 35, it comes back on to the change. What a keyframe is basically it is a tween, meaning a change in shapes with it, right? So that's what this is, what we're doing with it. Now we can't have it like pop into it, so it has to be a transition coming into it. That's what we're doing with it. So I want to take the next step. I want to come over again with it, and this time we're going to actually animate this a little bit with it, right? So we're going to actually come in. What is this tool called again? Remember the asset tool that you have this pin right here with it. So we're going to go to frame 50. Select frame 50 of that same layer of the jellyfish with it. So it's about right here with it, right? So frame 50 of the jellyfish, we're going to insert in a keyframe as well. So insert keyframe. Make sure it says keyframe. Insert frame is different. That's just a regular frame. So insert keyframe right here. So it should look like that, okay, with it. And then I'm going to come, I'm going to set the stage. We need to zoom in a little bit. So come down and select 100% so we can zoom in a little bit. We're going to come over and use our asset warp tool, this pin, push pin right here that we just did with it, right? So make sure you have that that with it. The moment you do that, it turns back on all the soft type of skeleton that you have with it. Now we're going to select each of the nodes at the end of the tentacle with it, and then we're going to change the object of it to the freeze point with it, right? So so step number 3, we're going to actually click on the tentacle of this part right here with it, right? And we're going to actually come over to the properties, object, make sure you have that, and come down, we're going to actually enable, meaning we're going to unfreeze it, right? So make sure you have that selected. Maybe, hang on. Okay. In order for this to work, we have to select the node, all right, which is, this is the node right here. So click on the node. Click on the node, meaning the end point of this right here, where my cursor is pointing at. And then you come over here and you change that to freeze point. So make sure you click on the end, not the actual bone structure that we change to it. All right, you see how I clicked on each one of them, the node. Jellyfish. Okay, so that will now we need to deform the jellyfish to kind of like spread its tentacles out a little bit with it, right? Once we've done this. So watch how I do this. So I freeze the point here. They're all frozen at the bottom here. And then I'm going to come up here. I'm going to grab this square right here, right? Watch. Drag it down to about right here. Okay. So it looks like it came in, and then it's going to push itself out to the top. That's what that is with it, right? So that's basically step number 4, what we just did right there. Now, I want you to come over to frame 70 of the jellyfish layer. So frame 70 right now. So this is 70 coming down on 70. And you can see over here what frame you're at, if you ever wonder what frame you're at. So this on the right where I'm pointing at right now, I'm on frame 50, right? If I want to if it's too far for you to be off with it, you can click on here and you see where it says 70 right here. So it tells you it's 30 frames per second and same 70 right here, right? So we're going to insert in a keyframe right here at this time. Insert in keyframe. Now, in this time with it, we're going to select the root bone of the jellyfish, and then we're going to stretch it as shown with it. So we're going to actually select the root bone. This is the root bone right here, right? So it's going to change, and we're going to stretch it like this. Okay, like that. Okay, and then we're going to click on the node end of each of the tentacle, and then we're going to disable the freeze. So once we move it up with it, so click on that, and then come over to your freeze point, disable it, click on each one of them, disable it, disable it, okay. So this is what it looks like with it. So this is the end of this slide right here with it. So I'm going to click on next. So the jellyfish is ready to propel, meaning it's ready to shoot out with it. So select the bone of each of the tentacles and bring it closer to the center as shown with it. So once it's gathering, everything is going to give it a feel like it's going to, like all the tentacles are coming together with it. So so that's what they want. We want to. And again, before you actually do most of your animation with it, you would study a lot, spending time looking at real jellyfish, how they swim with it. So I'm sure when they did the Finding Nemo movie, I don't know if you see the documentary with it, you see a lot of people, they went into the waters and really spent time in the water and seeing how fish behaves with it, So this is with it as well. So we move everything together with it, and we're going to come over to go to frame. We're going to scroll over, take your scroll bar. By the way, you can move it down here. The other way is you could zoom in, zoom out of your you see this magnification right here, so you could see different type of layout with it. But they gave you to 160. They want you to go to frame 160 and insert the keyframe on the jellyfish layer. So this is frame 160 of the jellyfish here, and I'm going to right mouse click on this, and I'm going to insert keyframe. Okay. Control Z is another command you need to know, means to undo with it. So keep 3 commands you need to know. Literally. Control A to select all. Control C is to copy. Control V is to paste. And Control Z is to undo. If you know these 4 commands, every software that's built in the Windows operating system, or if you do command over in the Mac, it will work as well with it. So if you know those 4 commands, that will help you tremendously with it as well. All right. So what we're going to do is we have to resize this once we've done this with it, right? Remember how we actually move it down to about 50, right? And then we're going to actually move this, take the canvas, and so we can see up here on top of this with it, right? So we're going to actually have to drag this jellyfish out of on the top with it. So and we're going to move the jellyfish off the stage with it, is what we're planning to do with it. So here's what we're going to do. Make sure you grab the pivoting point, meaning the square point right here, and you drag it off like this. Like that. Okay? And then, so this concludes step number 9. And then we're going to add the tween. That's all it is with it. So we're going to come back down here. So in this right here, click on any frames in the first span, meaning, let me take you back to the first span of this. Take this right here if you want, or you could, make it smaller and scroll to your, this is what's called as the first span right here, right? So right mouse click on it, you can go and select the so let me show you what you can do each one of these things with it. So I want to click on like frame 17. All right, I'm gonna hold down my shift key and I'll come over to like frame 90. All right, and then you see this icon here. It says insert classic tween with it. So you can do that, or you right mouse click on it and insert classic tween. So or which is tween basically with it, right? So you notice when you put in a tween, it's a solid line with the right arrow. It looks like this with it. So you can see it comes all the way across with it. So I selected frame 17 and ended frame 19 and insert classic tween. That's all I did with it. So that's what you just did on this with it. And the second, every 2 steps on the tutorial, you can always test out the movie. So here's the little test button in the upper right hand corner. Give it a second. It's rendering right now with it. I'm reaching 18 minutes. I'm sorry, but this is a little longer. So this is what my, after you run it, it's going to generate what's called the SWF, is the Swift file. And you see how the tentacles come together and they kind of push itself coming in and kind of push itself off of the, and it comes up like that. So this is why I want you to take a screenshot of this. Keep this SWF file that you have right now with it, or better yet, you need to save this. I should have to show you how to save this the first time you did it, because I didn't save this yet with it, right? So let me close out of this right now. Let me save this right here. Save this because you're going to use this for your class project in here as well. So find your, make sure you're in your OneDrive Dallas College. Find your class, which is IMED1301, your semester, and I want to put this under, I don't know, I've done so many of these, Squid Animate. Let's call this thing Animate 2 for me. For you, no spaces, Squid _ Animate. Okay, that's it for this this tutorial. All right, I'm going to stop right here.